know if people just didn't
It
hear
wasn't very
about
well
it
attended.
or what, but
Well, see, that's,
there
part
weren't a
of
lot
the
of
community's
them.
problem is we're not, you see, that's my problem, sometimes I don't read the paper well enough and I don't see that they're publicized and then it's over before I know about it. That's my fault, not you guys.
Sure.
One thing I think is, you know, if we can't even hire, like, co-op a band teacher, we can't do something as simple as that. I'm concerned how we're gonna get 5 schools together to do one.
So far, everybody's communicated very, very well, and the difference there is it's not 1 versus 1 on the other side. It's everybody's.
But
getting a
also,
little
you
game
guys
along.
are all somewhat pro for this, so it's easy to have easy conversations when you don't have somebody there telling you the downsides of something.
Well, and maybe we have access to a lot of information too.
I'm just saying, it's easy to have great meetings when you don't have people sitting there trying to tell you the downsides of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in any meeting, I'm not just saying your guys' meeting, that's in any place you go. I mean, confrontation is a good thing, I mean, it really is.
Probably the common denominator is the fact that everybody knows they have issues.
Right.
You know, so we're sitting there, and we spent a lot of time on this already, you know,
Yeah.
trying to resolve about what's the best way for everybody to handle their issues that are coming down the road.
I guess me personally, and I'm gonna go back to what he says, what is the sustainable number? Because I still don't understand why, like, down the road, a Plainview and Creighton can't work it out. I don't see why that's not sustainable, cause looking at the numbers you set for the next 13 years for Creighton, Plainview is roughly that same size. So why can't that easily go 20 plus years, being sustainable?
Well, for one, is Plainview at the table with us today?
That might,
I mean, they're not
it
here
seems like we're not
saying, hey,
even
Creighton,
looking
let's
at those
do something
options,
together.
so. I think that's the biggest thing though, Jeff, people don't feel like we're looking at those options, and I really truly believe that's a viable option. Instead, we're just putting all of our focus on 5 schools, and that is the only option.
Well, and just like
Honestly,
Jerry
I think
Ayler
if you
said,
just
commented,
did-
he said all those 5 districts, no 2 districts are sustainable at this point.
That's his opinion.
Yeah, but for how long?
He's a pro-merger guy, I mean, that's
But
what
no
he
2
does.
districts are
That's what he
sustainable.
does though, that's his job.
Am I off a little bit in saying the problem with a 2-school merger is which town's gonna lose their school and it's not gonna be my town? Whereas if you have 5 building a new school, you all lose the school systems together. It
Right.
makes it easier to make those hard decisions because now it's not my town loses yours wins.
I agree with that,
What,
except for the
Clearwater
never
and,
town.
is it Oakdale?
Orchard.
Orchard.
You know, the high school's here for what, 3 years?
2
And
years.
the other town got the, you know, and then they switch.
But I'm not saying that's kind of
Probably not
complicated too.
perfect.
Yeah,
Right.
it's,
Because of the
it's,
class size.
But it's an
it's
option.
very, very difficult
Yeah.
scenario too.
And the kids lose a lot because they spend a lot of time traveling.
But they're gonna lose a lot of time traveling out there though.
Travel once, I mean, they're going back and forth all the time, every day.
Right.
And so, you know,
But I think a lot of people though feel like this is the only option you guys are looking into, that you're not even, and maybe you have done that, but then that needs to be portrayed to everybody, because everybody feels like this is the one thing and this is the only thing we're geared for. Nothing else is an option and we're not even gonna look at it. And maybe you have, but then that needs to be told, because I'm being serious. I mean, 20 years puts kids born now all the way through school. I mean, that's not a Band-Aid or a short-term period to me. So,
I think, excuse me, we've
No,
been
it's okay.
cut off on state aid, you know, which all these
Right.
schools are getting done.
right,
And I think in a few years, they're gonna tell us, you're gonna go there, or you're gonna go there.
Well, if they're gonna do that, maybe our teachers ought to just kinda like homeschool, you know, we can stand by and let the state start telling us what to do, or we can stand up and be individuals too, you know, that's kind of a far-fetched deal, but dang it, you know, we need to stand up for ourselves too, instead of let the state always, tell us how we gotta, see, that's kinda getting to be the trouble, is the state's getting enough control of things that they just basically tell us what's gonna go on anymore, and it's getting to the point where we don't have no say about it.
Yeah, and that's with everything in life.
that's why I'd like the decision to be ours and not theirs.
I think, I mean, of those 5 schools, I mean, if the state does come down and say that, they're not gonna say, okay, Creighton, you're gonna go to Bloomfield. We know their school is falling down, but we're gonna send you there anyway. Don't you think they would pick the school that is the most equipped to handle the extra students? We have a nice school, we have a newer school, we have big enough for much more than what we've got now.
But they could also send you to Plainview, they could send you to Verdigre, they could send you to Neely.
Well, the worst case scenario is they might send you to Norfolk or even worse yet, Lincoln or Omaha.
Yeah,
Is the bad thing that we gotta think about.
Yeah, it's whatever scenario they come up with, and let's face it, when you're talking about the legislature, it's dominated by Omaha and Lincoln.
Well, yeah, absolutely,
I mean,
that's
it's
the whole
dominated by
problem
Omaha
right
and
now. And that's with the state aid being cut too, is where the trouble comes, is that
Yeah.
it's controlled by Omaha and Lincoln instead of us.
Once you've lost your state aid, you'll never get it back. And that's where we're at now, is we've lost our state aid and we'll never get it back.
I think once we lose our school, we're never gonna get it back either. Once our school goes out there, it's never gonna come back. We're not gonna say, okay, Creighton kids, we changed your mind, you're all gonna come back now. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't get it back.
What happens if two schools merge with state aid? Do we know what happens in that
We
situation?
won't receive it. None of these schools get
Nothing.
state
Not
aid
even
now.
with five-school
Even
merger,
with
we don't
five.
have no state
Nothing.
aid, it's because the formula's broken, it has nothing to do with Creighton, it has nothing to do with our small towns. The formula is broken, I mean, it's, the system itself is not working for the small towns. So but I think that's a misconception out there as well, that by having these 5 schools, that suddenly we're gonna get state aid, it's not true,
No,
we're not
we
gonna
will not.
get it.
We'll have a lot of resources through valuation there, but we will not have state aid, and 2 schools are not gonna receive state aid either,
2, 3.
No,
so.
valuations are too high at this
Yeah.
time, and farmers have created that,
How have we created that?
because they keep paying more and more for land, so then your valuations go up, because,
See, now, if you
It's not
talk to
always
Steve
local
Archibald,
farmers.
that's got nothing to do with it.
Oh,
The schools are what make your taxes
Well, the
go
schools
up.
set the levy, but but this, they did lower, you guys did lower the levy the last time.
it's based on property
You know, so-
valuations, it also based on that.
that's the way I understand it.
Well, that's the way-
Steve
that's the way it
Steve
is, but-
Archibald told me no, that's got nothing to do with it, with these, some of them are idiots paying what they're paying for it. That's got nothing to do with it, so, I'm just taking that
Well,
from him.
as a school district, we have no control of what land is valued at, 0 control. Now, we do set our levy based on what land valuations do, which for us, land valuations have gone up. And in doing so, state aid has diminished. And so you go from $1.5 million in state aid to $0 next year. Now, we will get a little bit based on different formulas as part of it, but we won't touch $80,000 next year in what'll come as state-supported services.
So what
And
are
that's
those
after we went from
resources out
1.5.
there? What are those resources out there if we're not gonna get state aid, which we know we're not, that's not rocket science. What resources are out there to increase our cash flow for financial reasons?
Well, when you look at a combined valuation of the 5 districts, you're well over $2 billion once new valuations come out, which puts you equivalent to, for instance, a Grand Island School District, but yet you're educating a tenth of the kids.
But we're still, we still have to share that between all of our schools that remain in the small towns and that one out there.
Yeah, but
So
you
you
can
get
protect
smaller
taxpayers
pieces.
as well as provide a lot to kids with that type of valuation. So, and for us, our levy as the higher levy would see a decrease.
So if we're not gonna get state aid, how does the state dictate on if we have to close our doors?
Because property tax doesn't meet the needs of our students. Property tax alone doesn't, and that's what the formula puts a squeeze on you, because you really depend on that state aid. But once you lose that, we will be reserve spending in the future, no doubt about it. So, and that's again because what we need, we can't provide with our property taxes alone.
So we will never get, the big school will not get state aid, but there'll be enough property tax to fund the big school by itself, without any input from the state.
Right. We will have tremendous valuation resources between the 5 districts.
What if legislation changes that formula and we lose that resource?
That's always, just like valuations, are they gonna continue to go up 15 and 20%? Probably not.
And they're talking
At some
about-
point they're,
That valuation thing, that's great for the school board, but that's not very good for us farmers.
no, it's not.
You know, the thing
It's
is,
not.
it comes to the point,
Only
you
if you
know,
go to sell your land and then you can sell it.
Well,
It
yeah,
sounds to
right.
me there needs to be-
we could
you
sell
have
our
a
land to some big
sustainable
farmer
number
that
of income
wants to
stream.
farm 100 quarters, and then you're gonna lose 5 more kids in the school if
Right.
if
Well,
your
and
taxes
big
get too
school.
high.
what we're hearing for projections for next year is 15 to 20% is what it did again.
Yeah,
And that's tough. Last year it went up by, between the 15 and 20% as well.
But the legislature is talking about changing the valuation from 75% to 65, which will help the landowners, but there again, it's gonna
it starts crippling us.
That's where it's gonna hit us really hard.
Which then means you have to start raising your levy, and then you start getting towards that $1.05 lid, and then other issues occur from that as well.
So have there been any steps to work with our legislatures as far as trying to fix the formula?
Yes, we've had many, many meetings with them, and so far we've had no luck.
Well, the
And
trouble
again,
is
remember,
we're outnumbered.
exactly,
They got, Omaha and Lincoln got the population, they got the votes, Omaha and Lincoln, they're not the ones that finance the state, it's the rural communities, they're the ones that actually finance the state, but they tell the whole state what to do.
So can't
Just
we give
because of the
Omaha to
population.
Iowa and be done with them?
well, and they did talk, it was proposed before that you would have a general levy across the board, across the state, so everybody would have the same levy. If you don't use that money, then it goes to the districts that would use it. So you could potentially be in Knox County funneling money to Omaha and Lincoln for the state aid formula. That didn't get huge legs, but, that was a proposal out there last time.
Did each district send somebody some teachers to that June 17th meeting that
Yes.
got approved with that
Yep.
money last month? And how did that go?
Good, really well. NDE sent 7 individuals as well to serve as experts in their areas of career education. That's probably where we need to continue to move on, is the curriculum meeting on June 17th. So on June 17th, NDE, Northeast Community College, 3 staff members from each of the 5 districts, as well as administration, then attended that meeting. We are not set officially with what that curriculum would look like or the course offerings. We need some tweaking from a couple of the schools, as well as we're waiting back to figure what courses could be dual opportunity or dual credit options as well. So, but when it comes down to it, when you look at the 5 districts, we have ag, Plainview has ag, Bloomfield and Wausau share an ag teacher. And so that was one of the career clusters that we were very weak in as 5 districts. We, as a district, were very, very weak in the skilled and technical services, which would be primarily through your industrial tech. And so when you look at those districts, really there was 2 out of the 5 districts that actually had career opportunities in those, or educational opportunities in those areas. And so when you look at that, what that means then is we've been educating our kids to leave, because when you look at Northeast Nebraska and the careers that they would have in this area, it's going to come in those skilled and technical services areas, as well as it's going to come in the areas of agriculture. And by these schools not having those areas, we've educated our kids to leave. And that's been a growing trend for a long period of time moving forward. When it came down to the health sciences area, we were the only district that really provided anything in that area at all. Business, today we offered quite a few of those areas. Agriculture, there was one teacher that is, or does have a master's in that area, and so he would be able to teach dual credit ag courses that would tie into then an associate's degree through Northeast. The arts and visual technology areas, we were a little bit weak on that side, and all districts were weak in that area. And then the human sciences and education, there's a lot of areas that could be expanded then as dual credit options. And then when you look at the core curriculum areas, considerable number of increases could take place with dual credit options, associate degree options, and further down the road if we expanded or pooled our resources together. Simple, basically general courses that you'd have to take: world history, American history, American government, psychology, sociology, all of those then could become dual credit. The other area that I think we do a very poor job in is we really focus on the 11th grade math year. Of course, you're always focusing on your pre-calc and your calculus kids, but for those kids that are going to go to a 2-year school, a lot of times as seniors they neglect math because they've taken their 3 years, they don't want to take it again. That would be an area that some of the community colleges have known or have seen as kids are definitely weak in the math areas, and when those kids aren't taking a 4th year of math. So that would be also an additional area that we could add on, would be occupational math or discrete math, and that would come probably as a dual credit opportunity for both of those courses as well. So together we could expand greatly with the curriculum that could be provided. So the other side of that is through NDE, we will qualify for the revision grant, in which they will provide $5,000 moving forward to look at the curriculum as a collective group. And then from there, it'll turn into $50,000 per year for 3 years per district, so that would be at a total of $750,000 towards the other 5 districts to move forward. NDE will also be represented moving forward. They greatly support the move forward with this, and has labeled this as a trendsetter and an opportunity to be a state model across the board moving forward in the career education side. So they will be providing additional resources as well.
I might not understand that, so I'm sorry, but that's a grant, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that's saying if you're gonna consolidate or do the merger, correct?
This is to work
Or
on the
no?
curriculum moving forward.
What?
They will also come out and provide a community meeting and highlight strengths and weaknesses of your current curriculum as well as your possible curriculum.
So what happens if we don't actually do the merger?
The money is still there moving forward, and so that's what we're utilizing for now, moving forward.
So we could use that for our own school?
What's that?
We could use that for our own school?
Yeah, we can, because it's gonna highlight the strengths and weaknesses of your school, so we're not out anything by doing this.
So like if you don't merge, there's no ties or, I mean, you.
This allows us to work together and have the finances to do so.
Okay.
What happens if one of the schools opts out?
What's that?
What happens if one of the schools opts out of this?
That could be a decision that's made over time.
No, that's what I'm saying, I mean,
You know,
does
if
that
4
make it
schools go together and
unfeasible
one
if only
doesn't?
4 schools, right.
It's probably gonna be a tough scenario for that one school, moving forward.
I'm not talking about the one school, I'm talking about the sustainability of this merged school if there's only 4 communities instead of 5.
I would say that 4 schools is sustainable, moving forward.
But we haven't done a study to back up that.
All the feasibility study, and what we've asked everybody to do is throw the feasibility study away, because, you know, that's a conversation piece that gets you started. There was never a 4 school, you know, who are you gonna leave out in that scenario?
No, but someone
as
might
people-
opt out because they choose to,
We redropped
Keep
that
their
feasibility
school.
study, yes. Yes, and then those 4 schools would then take a look at it moving forward. But in terms of that big book, you know, 200 and some page book, there's never been a 4 school idea. And of course, as you're putting those together, you're not gonna be the one district saying, hey, leave me out. And as you're talking with the others, you're not gonna say, hey, leave Osmond out, or leave Wausau out, or leave Plainview out.
no, but that's what kind of gives you a false hope because we don't know that all 5 schools would be and if someone backs out last minute to make the whole thing crumble.
Well, we'll have different options moving forward as that happens, if that happens. But it will be very difficult on that one school. It'll be difficult on, if 3 go and 2 don't, it'll be difficult on those 2 schools.
How did we decide the school? How did that come about?
Well, we were talking with Plainview, we've been talking with them for nearly 2 years now. And so, without being able to actually share something and get something done, we said that we needed to agree to a feasibility study. And so that way you had the outside person put everything together. We found out very early as that began that that's not a sustainable opportunity moving forward or solution. And so that's when it expanded. And so Plainview obviously wanted Osmond to come involved because proximity is close. And then we chose to have Bloomfield and Wausau come involved as well, because, you know, Bloomfield had communicated back and forth with us a little bit as well. And so, you know, with Bloomfield and Wausau being a shared administrator there, those 2 came in conjunction at that point. So that's how it quickly became 5. You know, then from there, then additional things expanded with NDE and Northeast Community College.
And I think there's gonna be ongoing questions, and we'll try and keep everybody abreast of what's going on. And we'll try and keep all the information posted in front of everybody as far as website, and we'll seriously consider Matt's.
Well, my big thing is, you guys got a big job of educating people. I mean, educate them somehow, you know? And once you get them educated and you feel like you got to the point where, okay, let's vote on it, then vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's my point.
And
And if you got the community behind you, it seems like if you have support, things go a whole lot smoother. So that's my point.
The education part, I'm not fond of the computer side. I'm not a computer man, and I think there's probably a lot of people in this community that aren't computer savvy, so that's why I was kinda asking about, you know, if you was printing a lot of information in the paper or something. The website's not a real good way to get out there to a lot of us.
And that was one of the questions that came in, one of the submitted questions was, hey, I'm really trying to learn how to, I guess, peruse through this website, because, they weren't very tech savvy, and I think they were excited that they, were able to send an email and whatnot too, and that was their point, was beyond the website and the newspaper, how are you communicating to people? And to be honest, that's a hard dilemma for us right now, because if you don't read the newspaper and you're not tech savvy to be on the website, how can we get that information out to you?
And we wanna be accurate too.
And again, our information's gonna take a lot longer than other information, because ours has gotta be 100% accurate moving forward.
I just think the minutes in the paper is helpful too. But I mean, like the last minutes that said Mr. Harvey was here all for it and nobody else even spoke up during the meeting, I don't think that's right either. You hear everything all for this merger, but anything that's against it, nothing.
But he
nothing
asked to be
about that.
recognized at the beginning of the meeting.
Was he on the agenda?
He was asked, in the public comment, that's where he was asked to.
So we have to
He
ask
asked.
to be recognized before any of that gets brought up.
Before every meeting, you're asked to recognize if you have anything to address. To be honest, these are public meetings, but I think we are trying to gather a ton of input from you guys that are sitting here in this room. We could continue on with these and never look to you at all during this, so I think we are trying to, hear your opinions and, possible solutions and questions and concerns, and so I think we are really trying to listen to you.
But I think that needs to be published to the rest of the people too that aren't here, that they hear that, okay, well, maybe this is a downside, well, maybe this is an upside. They need all of that information, not just what's pushing towards